Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to June on the Range, Rootin' Tootin' BookTube event celebrating Western fiction. Tons and tons of fun. Created by Michael K. Vaughan, and I'm one of the co-hosts for the second year in a row. And I'm just picking Westerns at random to add to my night's reading pile. And I read a Western yesterday, or the night before last, Pistol Man by Steve Frazee. And I kind of sort of liked it. And it felt like maybe I was catching a really prolific author on a slightly bad day, a slightly off note. It wasn't a bad novel by any means. But I have other Steve Frazee novels. And I thought, give that another try, give him another try, and do it especially back-to-back like this. Because June on the Range only lasts 1 month. So, you want to nail down some of these things and find out what you think of them. But at the last minute, I decided instead to go with a book that I got yesterday. This. A Land Without Law, Saga of the Sierras by Brock and Bodie Thone. And I think the reason why I did this is because I've in that video yesterday where I hauled this thing, I mentioned that the Thones are very familiar to me. The name rings a bell, and I could swear that I remembered them for religious fiction. And at first I was thinking, no, that has to be wrong because these are rootin' tootin' westerns. But a number of you emailed me, and a few of you left comments on that video saying, no, they are famous for their religious fiction. Some of your relatives, your older relatives especially, a couple of emailers said, my grandmother loves those books. She will reread them and reread them. She has tons of them. So that confirmed that my vague memory was correct. And that made me all the more interested, even though it also filled me with foreboding. Because, let's be honest here, most Christian fiction is terrible. It might be good for whatever purpose it's serving for Christians who read it, but it's not good for people who are reading it for fiction. I thought, in other words, that this would be God-bothering nonsense. But nevertheless, I still can't remember. I could swear I remember reading a book by one or both of these authors set in ancient Rome at the time of Christianity's beginnings. I haven't researched it online to see if they've ever written anything like that. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. It could be. I read a series of, I've read a lot of Christian fiction set at the dawn of the faith. So maybe I'm thinking of something else there. But I dived right in to the Year of the Grizzly, the middle in the Saga of the Sierras. I don't think these were meant to be continuations of anything. But I dived right in, and I went in with my guard up, because if you are writing a religious conversion text, if you're proselytizing, then you're not writing fiction. The one is going to be at odds with the others, which is why nobody can remember any actual characters from The Jungle by Upton Sinclair. If you're going to be preaching, then you're not going to be storytelling. And if you're going to be storytelling, you're not going to be preaching, although some of your characters can. And I thought that's the kind of mess that I would be headed into with this thing. I was totally surprised. I don't know if Brock and Bodie Thone don't maybe deserve a deeper dive from me, but The Year of the Grizzly was great. What a story. I don't know anything about these authors. I don't know how they divvy up, for instance, collaboration duties. There are a million ways to do that. There's many ways to do a collaboration as there are collaborative teams. But Year of the Grizzly read like it was written by one person. One very enthusiastic, very skillful storyteller. It had purple prose. It hyperventilated. It never met an adjective that it didn't like. But I got lost in the story. Just caught up in it right away. It's the story of a rancher named Will Reed, who is caught up in, like so many characters that we've seen in June on the Range, he just wants to make a life for himself. But he's caught up in larger political concerns. In this case, between the United States, the Republic of Texas, and Mexico. All of whom are at war with each other, it seems like. And the United States is represented by Captain John C. Fremont, who goes on from this period to become extremely famous, Fremont the Pathfinder, and about whom I have read many, many books. He's very well done in this book. There's no critical apparatus in here. It's just a novel. But whoever wrote this book, it was mainly Brock Thone or mainly Bodie Thone or both of them working together. They did their research on Fremont the Pathfinder and on a couple of other historical characters that either come up in this book or are active participants in this book. But it's mostly, it's Will Reed's story of, building his home and trying to hold on to it through every calamity that you could think of. Raiding Mexicans, home rule Texas banditos, forces of the U.S. government that are inexorable and maybe not all that imaginative, but also everything else too. You're barely into this story before there's an earthquake, for instance, and Will loses a treasured mentor, and worries that he's going to lose his whole house. Worries that, but even there, even in this, that's a good example. Even in the series with the earthquake, an earthquake strikes when Will and his son and this old mentor figure are out branding cattle. The author doesn't show much empathy for that process. I'm not expecting it from anyone who's writing an old-style Western novel. I don't remember when Year of the Grizzly came out. I wonder if this thing will tell me. Does this have individual copyright information? Year of the Grizzly came out in 1992. So that's late enough for the authors here. For the authors here not to be so cavalier about branding cattle. At one moment, we're told that a little calf is branded with a searing iron on their naked skin, and their ear is also mangled so that it looks like the brand of their ranch. And then we're told that it gets up and scampers back to its mother. No, it runs back to its mother screaming in agony, an agony that will last for days. But anyway, they're doing this horrible thing. They're branding this cattle when the earthquake strikes. It scatters the herd. And when they recover their wits, they notice that one of the steers of the herd is angry at the earthquake and decides to take its anger out on them. So before Will can even run home to see if his home is still in one piece, he is treed by a raging steer. That is the kind of thing that happens in this book. The action is piled item on top of item on top of item, including about midway in the book, the signature moment, I imagine the moment that it gives rise to the title of the book, where one character has brought down a deer and he's about to skin it and dress it for food when he hears a whispery sound. And he looks up, and there's a mountain lion right there, poised and ready to strike. I wanted to point, I'm sure that this author got a lot of these anecdotes from, old Western memoirs and whatnot. But they are gilded, the lily. A lot of those, I would say all of those memoirs are lying just a bit. If a mountain lion wants something from you, you're not going to see it coming. They are stealth attackers. It would hit you from behind and break your neck before you knew it was there. This one whispers to this character, and he looks up and he sees the mountain lion, and even before he can grab his flintlock or defend his kill or kiss his you-know-what goodbye, a grizzly bear shows up and starts fighting with the mountain lion. That is what this book was. It never slows down. Never. And it's helped in that regard by a character who is not Will Reed. There's a character in here, a mountain man named Tor Fowler. And he steals the book. He absolutely steals the book. He's captured early on. He's tortured for a while. He gets loose. He has all the best lines. He has the most fortitude. And he also epitomizes an element of the Year of the Grizzly that, again, I don't know anything about these authors, but Tor Fowler really epitomized an element in here that I was feeling right from the beginning of the book, which is that Brock and Bodie Thone, at the very least, had to have absolutely imbibed John Wayne Westerns. Because this is so close to the ethos that John Wayne insisted on in his Westerns. When he was a contract player, a bit player, whatnot, he couldn't insist on anything. When he became a genuine movie star, then he could insist on things. He could look at a script and say, this isn't right. I want this to be more moralistic. I want there to be more humor. I want characters to face more brutal choices. That sort of thing. And when he became a force of nature in Hollywood, when he became, bigger than, if there's anything bigger than a movie star, then he could make movies like that. He could cause them to rise up out of the ground. These two had to have imbibed the spirit of those movies because that's what this felt like from beginning to end. Right and wrong, but also lots and lots of complexity. All the stuff that knee-jerk, snobby detractors of John Wayne movies who've never actually watched one will say isn't there. Actually, John Wayne fans will know that those movies are full of complexity, full of human nuance, and full of brutal politics. It's not just, rah-rah, my country, right or wrong, and then ride into the sunset. None of them are like that. So this was really enjoyable for that regard. Brock and Bodie aren't the most proficient prose stylists in the world. I have encountered, in June on the Range so far this month, I have encountered some unexpectedly good prose. The Year of the Grizzly does not have any unexpectedly good prose. It doesn't even have any expectedly good prose. But boy, oh boy, the prose shows up to win you over. It absolutely does. So I think 5 or 6 of you at this point have emailed me and said, you know, my old aunt or my mother or my grandmother really loves Brock and Bodie Thone's books. Please tell me if once you get around to, what is this called? A Land Without Law. Please tell me. Is it them? Or, because one of you actually, I won't, no names, you keep it completely anonymous, but I thought it was fascinating. One of you wrote to me and said, when you get, no pressure of course, but if you get around to that book, I would love to know if a normal person can pick up one of these books and read it, because that would be so amazing for my grandmother. That would make her happier than anything I could tell her. If I took one of her books off the shelf, one of these books, read it and genuinely loved it, and we could talk about it. Well, to that person and to all the other people who were hinting at kind of reasons like that, yes, at least for A Year of the Grizzly, yes. I don't know if these two went on to do, did they get more and more explicitly religious? Maybe later books of theirs are unendurable. But this one, no. No, this one's, Year of the Grizzly is terrific. So I'm riding high on June on the Range, because that was, not only was it an unexpected treat, which is always fun, but it was just a terrific reading experience. I couldn't stop reading, especially for Tor Fowler. I mean, you'd think, being the history wonk that I am, you'd think that I'd be most happy about Fremont being in there, because he's a terrific character. He and his wife were genuinely larger-than-life figures. They deserve, you know, as much attention as fiction will give them, or biography. We've seen a couple of books about them on this channel over the million years that I've been making videos. You'd think that would have pleased me the most, especially since he's not a cardboard cutout figure. In a lot of Western novels that I have read, the historical figure who enters stage right in order to dump exposition or give orders or screw up the hero's journey is Sam Houston. And he is almost never done right. Oh my God, sometimes it's just a weird caricature. And I was dreading the worst for this, because Fremont is a lot less known, so writers might think they have all more reason to take liberties. But no, not at all. I was immensely pleased. So, there you go. That's my June on the Range update for now. There are June on the Range videos trickling out from my co-host, definitely. You're going to keep in mind, they all have lives. Right? They have personal responsibilities, personal hygiene, friends, family, that sort of thing. And most of them require 9 hours of unconsciousness out of every 24. And most of them are slower readers. So, you know, there are a whole host of reasons why you're only getting daily June on the Range videos from one co-host. But nevertheless, you are. So I'm gonna spin the wheel again tonight. I think, I mean, it's the middle of the month, and I've sort of said all along that I was going to move back to ebooks. I was going to read some ebooks. Maybe I'll do that tonight. I don't like to set a plan at all, but I kind of want to read another Steve Frazee. And I'm pretty sure I don't have any of him in ebook, only in print book. So maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll read a Steve Frazee tonight, just because I want to do a case study of the two of them. And then after that, I'll move to ebooks only. And just save the print books I have for the next June on the Range, or read them in between now and then and collect more. I don't know. It's up in the air. I will report back tomorrow, and we'll find out what I did. Thank you, BookTube.